All right, so in this video, what I'm gonna do is put a 3-speed switch right here on the left side of this bird 3. That way I can control my settings. 3-speed switches in here, so let's go ahead and get that open. So this is what it would look like. It'll come in a small little Ziploc bag. Pull that out. That's what that looks like. Right now we're sitting on number 2. It's number 1, back to number 2, and number 3. That's high setting. So right here you can see I already have my rubber grip pulled off. Reason for that is because it was hard as hell to take off, so I just did that off camera. Okay, so just kind of give an example. It's gonna look something like this when it gets done, so doesn't look too bad at all. We'll see what it looks like when it's done. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start with taking these bolts out. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And the size of bit you need for that is a T40. Now from there, this little deal should just pop up. Just by lifting this up, this will slide right out. Just be careful because there's, you know, wires in here. And so let me see if I can let y'all see what that looks like. So this is literally all the space you have for this 500-watt controller, which is very limited. So, you know, I would advise watching the video I posted on how to trim the battery housing. That way this can be possible. Okay, so despite the dirt, here's my controller. And right here on this side, if I pull this out, you'll see my step down converter come out, which is for this backlight. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this out. So right there connected to it is my step down, close to my backlight. So before I work on the scooter, I'm gonna disconnect my positive and negative terminal. Just like that. From there I should be good to go. So there goes the controller, just got that flopped out. So from this end here, this is what you're gonna wanna pull out, which is your battery charging port cable. Let's pull that out. And there you go. There goes your battery housing. I'm gonna take this little shroud off. And for that to come off, what you need is a T25 security bit. Also, before I forget, there's a spring that's gotta come loose. Show y'all that now. Just pull this end of the spring with like a pair of pliers and it'll break free. See what that looks like. Let's go ahead and put that to the side. Be sure not to lose that. So there goes the shroud. So now from here, what I'm gonna do is take these bolts off and pull my tire off and my fork and get my stem to fold in half. Okay, so just so you can see, I just took this tab off. In here is a small slit right here on the corner. You just want to put your flathead in there, pry it upwards, and just come right off, just like that. So for this end, you have 2 different sizes. The first one being a 5/16. The second one, which is the smaller one, is a 7/32. Take that loose. Now for this one and the other end, I'm gonna go ahead and put both of the same sizes on each side. The reason for doing that is because it'll just free spin if you don't hold it. So go ahead and take these off. In order for the side to slide loose, that deal's got to come loose to set this free. All right. So you don't have to pull it out all the way. As long as it's loose, you're able to just slide it right out. All right. There you go. Next step is going to be to take out that fork. This big bolt here, which you can't see because there's mud all over the place. Need to get to this screw down here. So let's get this mud out the way. Okay, so the socket you're gonna need to remove this bolt is a 16 millimeter. So you wanna make sure you take that little ring that's under it with it. You obviously can't see mine because of the mud, but I know it's there, so. Set that down. This fork should come out as well. Make sure you take this out, pull this out from here. Make sure you put it in the same way you take it out. And now this will slide right up. Pull your cable out, just like that. Okay, so now that I got my front wheel off, this here should pull right up when you wiggle it. But let's go ahead and take off this zip tie and get to what's underneath this top. Now my 3-speed switch, I'm gonna go ahead and feed that along the inside of this groove because it goes underneath all this and it'll make it to where it's not visible. You won't be able to see anything. I don't even have to remove this. I can just go ahead and slide my wires in. So let me show you what I'm talking about. So here's my switch. It's gonna go something like that. And it's actually a perfect fit. So you're just gonna wanna fit them underneath this slit. And they should come right out to this end right here. There's nothing in the middle that'll interfere with it or anything like that. So there you go, right there. So now you just wanna feed your wires through. Just like that, and bam. Put your grip back on, and you're done with this area right here. So this is what it looks like. Now that right there is a perfect fit. All I have to do is tighten this up. That's what the back of it looks like. Can't see any wires at all, nothing visible. What I use to tighten this up is a T15 security bit. So now from here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add my extensions onto these. I'm gonna add a black, green, and a red. I'm gonna pull this stem down and go from there. Okay, so actually one more bolt's gotta come loose, and that's this top deal holding in this brake line. To open that, you will need a T27 security bit. All you gotta do is break that loose and that's it. That's it. So from down here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clip my ends going to my 3-speed because I don't need these little rings. Okay, so I have my extensions soldered on, as you can see. Now I made these wires extremely long. I went on ahead and used the remaining wire that I had on my spool. Should be enough. I'm going to feed these wires right into here. Here, right where you see this long hanger going into, you're gonna add some tape onto one end and just feed it down here. It'll come out through the other end. Also, another thing that's gonna be hard is getting those wires to go down in here. So let's go ahead and work on this first and we'll get to this later. All right, so unfortunately the wires had to go in a different way. There's a small bolt. If you look down in here, you can see a bolt. That bolt's gotta come undone. And to get that undone, you will need a 16 millimeter or a 5/8 to get that out the way. This thing will break into 2 pieces. You feed it into this side, and how I did it was I fed each wire individually through here, and that did also involve having to move this brake cable back and forth so that way it can fit right in very easy. So that's how I did that. Now from here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get this coat hanger, run my wires all the way down the stem and go from there. Okay, so I have my 3-speed wires all connected in, going down through my stem. So this is where I'm at now. From here, I'm feeding my wires down this deal, and they're just gonna go all the way down to here, down to the bottom to the controller. Okay, so as you can see, I've got it propped open from the bottom. Got my hanger ran up all the way through the top. Had it come out through here. Push those down and go from there. So, all right, so there it is. See, I have my 3-speed wires. What I want to do, feed them down in here, because that is the only place you have these wires to go through. And the best way for you to do that is to just get them down there one by one. It's gonna be the easiest bet. Twist them a little bit. Now you only gotta push them down so far, you'll see them at the bottom. See if I can see this. Okay, so you just gotta feed your wires in one by one like this. And right there from below, right there, you can see a red strand. Just pull that and just do the same way. The green wire and the black wire, just feed them in one by one and just go from there. All right, so now I have my wires down here, ready to go. You can see them hanging down. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put my fork back on. So there's a small lip, you wanna line that up and it falls right in place. And there you wanna put your water flap on. It's gonna fall in there, and from there you're just gonna make sure it sits in correct. Tighten up your bolt, that's it. So now that I got my wheel on, now what I'm gonna do is get inside this controller. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just take the bridge off my K2 to ground pin, which is 3rd speed, but you know, with the kill switch is gonna be to where I can actually control it from 1st to 3rd without it just being stuck on 3rd. So right here I have 1 screw. I actually lost the other 2, so normally there's 3 of them, as you can see. So now that this is loose, I actually have something I'm gonna put underneath the circuit board to keep it from rounding out or causing a short. The board looks like, by the way, 500 watt brushless controller. You have 12 MOSFETs on it compared to the 350 watt controllers, which are, I think, 6 MOSFETs. But let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so right here on the backboard, the blue wire here is my K2 to ground bridge. That's what activates my 3rd speed. I'm gonna go ahead and take that off and add my 3-speed switch. Okay, so after that, you can go put your board back in its case. But what I'm gonna do is add some more toothpaste to this heatsink. Because if you didn't know, toothpaste is a very good heat conductor. So, you know, it works, it does a good job. So now that that's done, put this inside of this housing. Okay, so I put my little screw back in to hold my heatsink together. Now I got this one in to hold this in. Now I'm gonna go ahead and put in these other 3. now what you want to look for is 3 wires. It's a blue, brown, and black. Okay, so these are your 3-speed wires. Go ahead and separate those. Okay, so my battery's connected, as you can see. Okay, so now the problem is on my 3-speed switch, the wires on that were green, red, and black. So what I did was added extensions and I added the same color, green, red, and black. But the colors I have here aren't matching up. Right here I have black, brown, and blue. So we know black goes to black, so that leaves me with red and green. So what I did was, I don't know if I don't do this, the question's gonna come up. You gotta have you one of these. I'm telling you guys, these things come in handy. So you wanna put your black on your black. And then with my red, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put it on this blue wire, and if no voltage comes up, well then I'm gonna move on to my next wire. Okay, so I'm getting 5 volts. This one here. Okay, there it is. So it is getting voltage, so it's not gonna matter which wire you put on which. As long as you put your black on your black, your speed should shift gears. So let me get this connected. I'm gonna go ahead and spin my tire and switch my gears, and if everything looks right, then we'll go ahead and see which color goes to which. Okay, so I got my color code right, and just in case, for those of y'all who are wondering, this is the color code you need to know, because I know, you know, these ain't really your average colors, brown, blue, and black. So what I did was I put my red wire onto the blue, black with black, obviously, and then you have your green to your brown, and got my 3-speed working as it should. I did start out the other way around. I put the red wire on the brown and then the green on the blue, and first speed was the highest speed, then, you know, so forth. Third speed was my lowest speed. So that pretty much told me if I just switch these around, then it'd be back in its normal state. So that's that. Let me go ahead and get this together and we'll go from there. Okay, so you can see I have all my wires together. Everything's put together. There goes my controller. Now we're just gonna go ahead and test this out. Set this right here. Speed number 1. Turn my throttle. Number 2. Number 3. So we're good there. Let's go ahead and close our housing and that'd be it. Okay, so from the back end, all you want to do is make sure that your charging port cable is connected right there. That's it. Besides that, make sure all of your wires are not pinched. Make sure they go along this groove inside or underneath works, and then just from there everything will slide in. Go ahead and do that. Right here, I'm gonna twist my controller in and slide it right in there, just like this. Step down converter. Also tuck that in right here in the side. Fits perfect. That's it. From there, tuck all your wires in here. Okay, so this is what it looks like. All your wires pushed into this little side pocket. From there, your bolt should be able to screw down to here by pushing these wires back, and make sure these are not in the way when you shut your housing. So let's do that now. Okay, so right here you see I dropped my front end. All my wires are lined up, and I actually used just the right amount of wire. You can see right here where it stops. So now all that's together, I'm gonna go ahead and get this lined up and go ahead and drop it. Okay, so I have my housing closed. Got it open just a little bit so I can show you guys how you can see in there how I have my hole cleared. I simply push the wires back using this long flathead. Just push behind that deal where the screw goes in. Wire sitting there, and that's it. Your deal should shut. Okay, so I already tightened up my front brake cable. Now tighten up this back cable, and that'd be it. So you can move this backward or forward. Of course, being this way will lock your tire. So loosen that up a little bit. That's good right there. There, tighten it up. All right, so this is the final result. This is first gear, second gear, third gear, second gear, first gear.